Yeah, been getting out there, that irrigating shovel, just scanning me up.
Why not?
I just put it in my hand.
Here's the trick.
What's that?
Take your shirt.
So we're doing now, I forget.
Yeah.
That way you put your shirt on.
Hey, guys,
You know, where are you going with this?
That's
good idea.
Bring this meeting to order, so Commissioner Thomas, starting today, please join me for flashing the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Our Father, we come before you with humility today to serve you, serve the people of this county and this great state. We ask that you cover us with your covering and keep those safe that are in potential harm's way, like our law enforcement and military. Be with their families of the county folks and keep them strong and protect this community from all those things that are undesirable. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Agenda.
I have an executive session at 11:30, litigation, and from the published version, the budget hearing the assessor will not be meeting or reschedule that.
Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, move for approval of agenda or changes.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve the agenda with changes. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion passed. Minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We have a stack of bills.
Yeah, we do. Mr. Chairman, move for approval of bills.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve payment of those bills. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We do have Title 25.
Yes, we do, Madam Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have Fremont Counseling Service claimant and the amount of $1,000. Motion to approve payment for $4,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve payment for $4,000 to Fremont Counseling. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Signature file.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a contract with Department of Health. The purpose of which is that the county shall provide public health nursing services pursuant to Wyoming State 35-1-243, provide home visitation services and other maternal care services. The total payment under this MOU, federal dollars, is $296,286. And I thought there was another, I'm sorry, total Fed dollars shall not exceed $139,255. And move to approve.
Second.
We moved and seconded to approve the contract between Fremont County and Public Health. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Mr. Chairman, we have some outstanding business. We have passed a motion to authorize a budget hearing for the museum board. Do we have the amounts? Oh, we do have the amounts.
That's coming in there.
So are they on schedule?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. I should look. Mr. Chairman, we also have, the update to the Wildland Fire Management Operations Plan. Move to approve.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve the wildland fire management operating plan. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Mr. Chairman, we passed a motion last week on the resolution for the tax initiative. We just need your signature. That's all been passed.
Okay.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, we also have Commissioner's record of proceedings.
Priority mail.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have a BLM, notice of final decision, Griffin Brothers Incorporated. And then notice of proposed decision, Dr. Ranch Company. And then notice of proposed decision, Wilbraham. Let's see. And the second item is American 250 Meridian Event Safety Flyer. And then monthly review reports from the clerk of the district court and the coroner's office.
Thank you. Public comment. Darla Newell.
Morning.
Morning. Darla, I'll have you introduce yourself, but just a reminder that we limit public comments to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. I'm Darla Newell. Lived in Lander for 40 some years. And for some reason, this year, there's all this turmoil in the library. There really has been been run really well. So today, I guess there's a special library board meeting, to introduce this policy. To protect children from harmful sexually explicit materials. And suddenly this is like a priority for them, even though it's not a problem. There's no porn, there's no sexually explicit materials in the library for children. They're already following the Miller test for obscenity. And I think this proposal has been sent to the county attorney. But as far as I know, they have not heard back from the county attorney. And so I'm kind of wondering why this is going to be pushed today. And then they're going to start their 45-day comment period, which is really kind of pushing it. Possibly purposefully, because new board members are going to be appointed at the end of June. And I guess my other concern is they did not listen to public opinion the last time that they pushed through a major policy. And so, you know, they're gonna, if this happens again, the same way they did it before, they're just gonna push it through. They're gonna say, oh, we know better than you. And I'm very concerned about it. I'm concerned about the legality of it and possible lawsuits. And I certainly wish that they were listening to Anita Markle, who's on vacation right now. I think we're going to be. Thank you.
thank you. That being said, have no other public comment. Meeting reports and concern. Mr. Rich.
The only thing that comes to my mind right off the top of my head is the fire issues that we're gonna probably be facing pretty soon. I want to encourage people to watch what they burn, make sure that they use their fire pits when they burn outside, and we're gonna have an awfully dry year. Bull Lake usually has about 150,000 acre feet of water in it. This year we're right down to about 40. So it's gonna be a very tight year. Not gonna have a whole lot of resources to fight fire with if we're not careful. So be careful with how you use your water at your home and your, even on your lawns and so just something to be mindful to the county that they need to take extra precaution this year and not stretch our resources any farther. We can, even the manpower issue with that. So that's all I have for right now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wilson.
I really don't have any, concerns about any of the meetings. I have had, conversations about, these data centers coming in. And all over the state. And in every town, and every nook and cranny. And from the, I went and did my own research on some of them. The data centers, an extreme amount of money, but that they put into it, but I don't see what the benefit outweighs the utilities, extremely high electric utilities, and which raises people's utilities within a radius of that building, of the data centers, because supply and demand. And we all know we'll be pretty high utility costs anyway. Also, the water, which is a really precious commodity, especially in the western states, and exceptionally this year because we've had zero water. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because there is a lot of discussion about that. So that's my 2 cents.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Clarence has been traveling just a little bit. So I've jumped into the conversations with Traveling Computers and our IT department with our former director leaving. I think we're in pretty good shape. We had a meeting with Julie and Jim and myself and Tara, and to talk about major issues that we see and open projects. Yesterday at the elected officials and department head meeting, we also gathered information from any of our department heads. So we've got a good master list, and we'll be asking Traveling Computers to start giving us reports on that. For the meantime, I think Margie is kind of a contact if somebody can't find Amos. Amos is still engaged and he's doing a good job dealing with PCs around the building. He's been well received by the county staff. So we're in pretty good shape because we had an ongoing relationship with them, and we did have some issues. Our backups were not happening on a daily basis, and they were so we've rectified that, but I believe we did a full backup on the weekend. I think that was supposed to happen, but so a lot of issues that we're not skimming a beat. So I think we're in pretty good shape. And we've got a good partner there, and we'll continue to work with them as we transition at this point. The only concern I have, and because of that emergency meeting after our IT director, I had to attend that meeting. Clarence was traveling, and so I missed the library board meeting. My only concern at this point is the language that they brought forward for explicit materials is very similar or identical to the language of the legislation that did not pass in the last term. And Barry Crago, who is an attorney out of Johnson County, led the charge to say, put the brakes on a little bit. This could potentially expose us to lawsuits. So I think that legal assessment of that, I think, is going to be important, because if this board is putting us at risk at a county and exposing us to a potential lawsuit or litigation, we need to know. So we need to get some sort of review on that. And, so that's my 2 cents about that.
Okay, thank you. Well said. I think I attended the courthouse security meeting off and on. But that was well attended, and there's a lot of things that were discussed that they're following through, and Mylan has taken the lead on that and just done a great job. And he thinks a lot of things out, and I wanted to give a shout out to Mylan. We recently had a fire in your neighborhood last week, and it displaced a family of 14.
Yeah.
And Mylan jumped into it, and he housed set up him and the Red Cross set up emergency shelter at the cafeteria building at the fairgrounds, and they housed them overnight. And he contacted the Arapahoe Tribal Emergency Management Team, and they found them the shelter at St. Stephen's School the next day. But Mylan and Heather and the Red Cross person spent the night with that family of 14 and made sure that they had food, water, that were comfortable. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Mylan, because they really went above and beyond and really jumped to it. So
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, it is.
It's very good.
So 9:20, time for the budget museum. Plot. Good morning. Morning.
I'll be quick. Need to get permission to have a budget hearing for an amendment to the Pioneer Museum self-generated budget. They received $5,800 grant from the Lore Foundation for IT, mostly related to collections management. So we're looking to get that expended, added to the budget and expended here in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay. Commissioners, questions?
Mr. Chairman, sorry, is this still the announcement, or is this the budget? This is just the announcement of the budget hearing.
Mr. Chairman, the offline boards have to ask you, they have to tell you where they got money, and
Okay.
they have to ask you if they can spend it before they go do their own budget training. So this is by statute,
Okay,
that they get your approval to move forward. You could say, let's say they got $100,000 and they wanted to go to Hawaii, you could say no. That's an example.
okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request of the museum to have the budget hearing regarding the Lore Foundation donation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the museum board budget request for the budget hearing. For additional revenue, unanticipated revenue from the Lore Foundation. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Congrats.
We'll give that to Emma.
Actually, you would just.
Thanks, Don.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I know we don't have the personal policy information on the agenda somehow. I thought it might be in the new business or old business, sorry. Is that something I'm gonna have to wait for next week then? Because we had looked at it and you asked for some corrections. I do have some corrections. You have some corrections on them, but we need to wait till next week.
Okay.
I'll just put it on. I didn't know if it was okay to do it without it notice to the public or something. Or I can answer your, he can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
Last week I mentioned that we went through all the personnel policies and there was one question. And so I did find the answer to that. But I didn't see that we put it on the agenda, so I didn't know if I had to wait till next week or if you want to go through the change at least, or.
Yeah, it'll only take 5 minutes, change, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys are ready to roll.
I think we can go ahead and go now, and then we'll
Right.
go with Patrick as soon as we're done with that.
Mr. Chairman, I also went through it with the elected officials and department heads yesterday to make sure they didn't have any changes and I didn't hear anything from them. I think the question that you guys had was in the. Um, thanks, Nicole. Right. The one we can look. Under harassment. Okay, we go. So under the policy and procedures handbook. So the question was if any outside vendor or outside customer would be somebody that could be under that harassment guidelines.
Oh, yeah.
The research I did was yes, any vendor or outside customer can be a harasser of employees. And so I did add that. One thing it did say is for vendors, we could have them sign non-harassment agreements. That's something a little bit beyond me. I'd have to figure out what those are, but I did add it. So that's the only thing you asked me and I added it.
Questions? Do we need a
We need
motion to
approval, all three of these, yes, if you're ready to. So the handbook, the policies and procedures, and the procurement policy. Those will have to be signed, but at least the two, the handbook and the policy book will have to be signed by the, every employee. I'm gonna send that out through DocuSign, so I have a signed copy from everyone, and those I don't receive back that way, then we'll go find them another way, make sure everybody's got a copy. I'll provide copies to the departments if people can't print them out for some reason, so that everybody has these, because this will be 9 years since we've changed them before, so. And as we mentioned before, Emma will put them all in a new format. They won't look like this anymore, but it'll all be there. And then this information, we'll work on that when we show them. Maybe we have to show them the old ones first, and then show them the new ones so that they know where to find where the changes were made.
Okay, so just so I have it clear, the handbook, the policy procedures, and the procurement policy.
Yeah, I should say benefits handbook, sorry. It's benefits handbook, policy and procedures, and the procurement policy.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I apologize, Julie. I started looking at the procurement policy yesterday.
Okay.
So I do have a couple of changes. That I'd like to make today.
Okay.
That's next week.
Absolutely. So we'll table that one for till next week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did think I found a couple of,
Procurement.
yeah, I think I found a few of the statutes and stuff too, and that one too is the only other thing I did change. Okay, so we'll hold that one off.
So I need a motion. Let's do one at a time. Benefits handbook.
Do we want
You can do them separate, that's fine.
to, Mr. Chairman, move to approve the benefits handbook?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the benefits handbook. The updates. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, move that we approve the policy and procedures book.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve policy procedures handbook. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, thank you.
Now we'll go with Patrick. Is Josh joining us? Josh, can you hear us?
I can, yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll let you guys start. Patrick, Josh, whoever wants to start.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and thanks for letting us spend a little time with you again today. Maybe Patrick can give a little bit of an overview of some of the things that have been going on in the area, and then I had maybe a couple questions for all of you, to maybe we could have just a brief discussion, and then just as a way of timing, I don't know how much time you have for us, but I do have a hard stop a little before 10.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Patrick, you want to maybe start with some of the things that have been going on in the area and what we've been working on?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you so much for having us today. Just wanted to give a little update. I know the last time we had met, we talked about housing, and that's obviously a huge discussion around the state of Wyoming right now with the shortage of housing and also the affordability of said housing. So a few weeks ago, the Wyoming Business Council, we were invited to participate with the city of Lander. They're working with Brian Rohrbacher and a group from Altitude Federal Credit Union. They have a grant from Go West Foundation to look at housing, really try to figure out what all of the barriers to housing development and prices and all those things are. So we spent about half a day facilitating a discussion around breaking down the problem. And so we did that over in the Lander Community Center. I believe there were 48 people there, which was really great. They were in charge of inviting everybody. Really, our role at the Business Council was facilitation. So what we did is we worked with that group to deconstruct the problem, come up with a problem statement that's part of their grant, and then also look at the different causes, right? The different things that are causing the housing issue and the shortage. So we did that a few weeks ago. I would highly encourage you to reach out to Brian and his team to look at the results of that, and Regine as well. But it was really great to see the community come together. We heard a lot of different things, and it's always neat to see a community come together to solve a problem. And so we know it's way more complex than it looks on the surface. As all of you know, we're working on these kind of things, but it's also really encouraging to see people care and spend half a day coming together to really work on that. So we'll see where all of that goes, but I would encourage you to plug in with those guys as they continue through the process. They have several steps for that grant that they have to go through, and that was just step one, was kind of the initial meeting. So just wanted to give you an update on that and let you know that people here locally, especially in Lander, are very passionate about housing and are working on that really hard. So that's my update. Josh, I wanted to make sure I give you enough time to go over what you wanted to update them on as well. So
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, thanks, Patrick, and Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. You know, what I thought we might have is a little bit of a discussion today. I mean, I think, as you all know, there's been quite a bit of attention on economic development in our state and quite a bit of attention on our agency. And I guess what I thought we might do is have a little bit of a discussion about what you think economic development looks like in your community, and what ways you feel like the state is helping, is not helping, or should be doing more of. And I would really appreciate that kind of a dialogue. I don't know if it's out of turn or if it's not appropriate for this type of meeting, but you know, I feel like an open dialogue and discussion at this point is probably more useful than me trying to tell you what we're doing, but I'm also totally up to that as well.
So, Josh and Patrick, thank you for coming. One question I have, and we hear more and more about it, are the data centers.
Mhm.
You know, and I guess, I've looked stuff up on the internet, and of course, it's got to be true if it's on the internet. But the high volume of water that they use is, I think that's a common concern. Is they said even a data center, and I really don't understand totally what they do, but uh, uh, the concern is a small data center will consume 5 million gallons of water a day. And the electricity, they said they have to, some of the examples are that they have to build a new grid, if you will, just to power the facility, and the power usage, and ultimately it causes the neighboring residents, or their neighbors, uh their rates to go up dramatically. And truthfully, do they really employ that many extra people?
Yeah, let me tackle all three of those. Those are what we would call very common myths, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And also, you are right. If you read it on the internet, it is not only 100% correct, but you could take it to the bank, and they'll definitely they'll sign off on that as well. But your questions are what we typically hear around data centers. And so, to tackle the first one, which was the water usage. I don't know all of the technology that has been used over the course of time for data centers, but typically speaking, today data centers use a closed loop system, so they don't use water in the rates and the amounts that are foretold on the internet. I would guess that much of that on the internet is probably a bit of scare tactics, or at one point there might have been a data center who used that kind of water. We're putting together some information with a number of entities to really get down to the bottom of that. I had one legislator the other day tell me, he goes, it's like less than a quarter turn of a pivot in agriculture um, for a data center to run. And so it's just not that much water, and it's a closed loop system. One of the things that you should always remember about data centers is that when data centers first started, they probably were like a little bit like a digital camera back in the early 2000s. They weren't very good. And nowadays, a digital camera is really, really good. And the reason is because there's so much investment, so much work on that particular industry that they've made leaps and bounds in technology. And I think the same thing can be said for data centers. One of their big concerns was water usage. So they've really focused in and said, how do we make sure that we're using a lot less water than we need to, or than we have in the past? And so that progress is happening. So they do use a closed loop system. So the water is something that you should be concerned with as a municipality or as a county, and always make sure, just like any other industrial user. But I think the facts are different than the fiction on that one. Power usage is real, because they absolutely need high levels of power in order to function. And so the real question is there power available in your area, or is there a way for them to generate power for themselves? So power usage is a challenge everywhere in the nation, but especially in Wyoming. The reason Cheyenne has seen so much usage in data center growth is because their power provider is Black Hills Energy, and Black Hills Energy absolutely can provide them power, whereas the rest of the state here is generally speaking either on a co-op, which usually can't, and I don't want to speak for them completely, but generally it's tough. and then Rocky Mountain Power, where the availability of power is pretty low. And so that is true. Now, the part about power that is not true is that their rate or their usage of power increases the rates on the ratepayers in the area, the residential ratepayers. That's not true. The way that works goes through the Public Service Commission. Those are regulated monopolies, and their rates are fixed, and they're not affected negatively by um, they're not affected negatively by the power user or the industrial power users. So that part is a myth, at least in Wyoming. I don't know how other states do theirs, but in Wyoming that is not the case. And then the third one was the number of people that they employed, and you're right, they are not generally speaking a thousands of people workforce. The data centers themselves are typically pretty small, really good, high quality jobs, but there are not that many of them. However, what we've found in other areas is that the data centers employ a lot in during construction, and they tend to keep a lot of crews on even because they're continually doing construction essentially, whether they're expanding or whether they're replacing hardware. And so the electrician staff and construction workers, it doesn't stay steady. It grows at the beginning while they're building those facilities, but it almost never goes away. So there's always a base of people, the tradespeople that are used in the data centers. So while they're not the big employer that's going to employ 1,000 people or even maybe even 100 people, depending on the size of the data center, they are really good paying jobs and they're good steady jobs. The other element that we need to think about there is the revenue that they generate for a community. If you look at Cheyenne and Laramie County, those data centers are either the biggest or some of the biggest uh, revenue producers, so taxpayers in the counties, in the cities. And that has to do with the sales tax on their electricity and the fact that they pay the property taxes on the facilities and all the capital expenditures. So there's a great amount of benefit to data centers. Now, does that mean that everybody should go out and promote their area as a data center place? Maybe, but again, I think the questions you have to ask, and these are good questions, are around everything you just mentioned. Is the water usage going to be acceptable to your current system? Do you have enough to supply it? I think you'll find that you probably do. But I don't know your system for sure. And I also, that's a big question. So what excess capacity do you have currently? And understanding that is going to help you make some decisions on the data center itself. The other part of it is that discussion around power, and it's the availability of power, not the power rates. So power rates aren't going to change for your residential users. However, the question you have to ask for your electricity provider is, do they have capacity that they are willing to provide? And that's a real question. And I think you probably know that from any other industrial users of power. It's not a simple discussion. It's not like you call them up and find out exactly how much is available. You've got to do a little bit of legwork, but that information is incredibly important as you're thinking about, if you were approached by a data center or if you're going to approach data centers as an economic development tool.
What
Did
about-
that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, it did, and thank you. And one other thing I was thinking of as you were talking was uh, that there was concerns about the noise level.
Mhm.
Now, like I said, I don't know anything about what do they do, what they do, but that was one of the things that people in adjoining neighbors, if you will, had, they welcomed them coming in, and then the noise level, it was a constant, not roar, but it was a constant noise that disturbed everything.
Yes, sir. That's a good question. I have heard that too. I don't know. Again, a lot of the data center activity is sort of far away from from people, generally speaking. It's not necessarily in a residential area. Now I have heard people say, and this is, this is where it gets really interesting. So I don't know about the noise, and that's something we could dig into and try to understand better. Um, but the other part that's interesting about that is the light pollutions. People will say, "Well, gosh, I like to go out, I like to look out there and not see anything except darkness, if I'm out in the country or whatever." And boy, that's where that rub between private property rights and being able to put what you want on your property and your neighbors, not in my backyard type of a situation, where it becomes a real thing. And I think that can be a concern, but it's one of those deals where, where do private property rights is start and end?
Patrick.
Mr. Chairman, I just did a tour of the data centers and some of the Bitcoin mining and stuff down in Cheyenne, and they did talk a little bit about the noise. And I know the Bitcoin centers, for whatever reason, are much more noisy. And so you'll see around some of those, if you ever do a tour down there, I used to work in that business park where they've got some of these now, and they actually have sound paneling up around the buildings. It's really wild, but that's to shield some of that noise. As far as actual data centers, I used to live in Cheyenne, been around the Microsoft ones in various locations. It wasn't super noisy, being around those, but I know the Bitcoining side is a lot more noisy
Really?
for whatever reason. But those are great questions, and those are things that communities all have to consider, if they are a good candidate for these kind of things. So just some comments on that. And then one other thing, my father-in-law, he just retired after 35 years with the Board of Public Utilities in Cheyenne. And they built out the water infrastructure for data centers, and they were expecting it was going to be this massive amount of water. So they overbuilt the system, and then they found out, oh, now we have these new closed loop system data centers. And so they actually don't use as much water as Cheyenne had forecasted. So now they have an overbuilt system, which isn't a bad thing. But they actually have a lot more capacity than what they thought they were going to need because of the technology upgrades.
So I see on the news and that Cheyenne, I think in fact, I think this morning I heard that there was applications or talk of 15 data centers going in around Cheyenne, or maybe around the state total. I'm not sure, but I hear a lot of opposition for that. Is it just because people don't are listening to the rumors? And like I said, everything that I read on the internet is true. So, but are they just looking at the internet and not knowing the facts? Is there somebody out there, telling them the true story? But it's hard to say. But
Yeah, with that in mind, that means that if you have 5,000 new jobs down there building this thing, people are gonna want to go somewhere on the weekends and for their days off, aren't they? So we're gonna have an influx of people here. Is that not correct? A lot of anthropologists as well. I gotta guard my swimming pool.
yeah.
The tribes, from what I've heard, have gotten a $50,000 grant, talking to Cy Shakespeare and Nellie Shakespeare. So that they got a $50,000 grant to see whether or not they can land one of those centers here. I don't know, are you aware of that?
Yeah, they're the ones that did
Tell
it.
us about
Your business.
it. Did I miss it?
They're the
No,
ones who did
Business
it.
Council gave them the 50,000,
Oh, okay, so
correct?
So, Mr. Chairman, so they had to have a 25% match, so I believe it was a little over 30,000 that we put in, but they applied for a feasibility study. And so the county can do that, municipalities can do that, counties can do that, just to figure out, what could work, and so that application actually came from the Northern Arapaho tribe, and they wanted to see if there was feasibility in having a data center here, because you have to look at a lot of different factors. It's not just water and it's not just power. You also have to look at broadband capacity in your fiber. Because if you don't have the trunks of fiber that you need, I mean, you're never going to be able to build it. That is a really big deal. And it has to be low latency, meaning that you can't have big gaps of time where, you have lag in the data being transferred. So they did apply for that and they were granted that back in 2024. So this is actually kind of old news. They've been working on that, and I'm sure they'll be releasing all the information on what they found on that study here before too long. But yes, they did apply for that. But that came from the Northern Arapaho tribe.
Mr. Chairman, also, housing, what about Fremont County and housing? Overall, where do you see in a shortage housing? Do we have an influx of new workers coming in or retirees trying to move here? What do you see as housing? You talked about Lander here, but what about the rest of the state, from Du Bois to Shoshone?
Josh, do you want me
Do
to?
we have adequate housing?
Yeah, Patrick, if you want to go ahead and touch on that for your area,
Okay. So Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, there's a lot to that. So we know that we've had people moving to Fremont County who are retired. We know that we have people moving here for various jobs. There's some economic activity going on. I can tell you Mayor Highsmith wants to build housing in Shoshone because Curry Rail, which occupies the rail center there, the repair facility, they've hired 30 people and they want to hire 30 more. But there's no housing in Shoshone. So Shoshone's looking at it. Riverton, they've got some housing development that will be going in that Eastern Shoshone Business Park. SITA has been working on that, so you'll see some housing development there. There's other parts of Riverton where it's happening as well. Lander, again, we just went through that process with them. It's obviously a shortage. I've heard about it from Du Bois, really everywhere in the state of Wyoming. It's the same story. We need more housing. We need places for people to live. We need it to be attainable. Really, it's the same story everywhere. And it is a bottleneck because workforce is one of the main things that businesses need. And if people don't have a place to live, you don't really have a workforce. So those two things are definitely correlated and go together. And Josh can speak more to that on just statewide, but it is a statewide issue for sure. And Fremont County is really no different than any other part of the state. Everybody's struggling right now.
Also, what about our airport? How's that tie in our airport to the economic development? Right now, we're going to see a big influx of tourism coming in. 7 million visitors go to Yellowstone every year. Quite an influx into Riverton. Is there anything that the airport board could get through your channels?
Josh, do you want to take the airport question, or do you want me to it?
Go ahead, Patrick, from your perspective. I think, obviously airports as a whole are really critical to businesses being able to reach out to their customers, to bring customers in and go in and out. People traveling in and out is really important. I think that's I know as a business person for most of my life, I found that it was really hard to fly in and out of Laramie up until they got the jet, and then once they changed the times, it changed again, and it was hard to travel in and out, and it kind of cost you a day on either side of the thing. And so, we feel like airports are a really important thing. We've done some work to upgrade some airports and provide new, maybe some funding, part of the funding for some of the new terminals. But a lot of that, the airports, they're pretty darn crafty and good at connecting with each other and knowing how to run those. But we definitely see that as a benefit to businesses. When we talk to business owners around the state that have customers outside the state, especially, air travel is incredibly important to them. And being able to access, those bigger flights to go across the country are really important. So, it's an investment for sure, but it's worth it for our businesses.
We're shortly here, we're gonna have a new hospital that, $66 million has been put into and keeping that airport open for doctors to come in and interview and to, have all kinds of professionals come in here for jobs. I think they're gonna have 200 to 300 new jobs, but they're predicting the airport might be pretty important to us. I think that Warden at one time let their airport lapse, and it has affected their economy immensely. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is correct. I know that one of the big concerns is you don't want to lose TSA, because once you do that and you also lose your airline, it takes a lot of work to get that back. It takes years. And just piggybacking on everything that's been said, I mean, you talk about businesses that want to get people trained or bring in experts or travel to do their main business. You need an airport because you have to move quickly. You have to fly across the country. To bring in doctors, which we see a lot in Fremont County, that will fly in and do specific things that we don't have offered here, that would keep you from having to go to Denver and Salt Lake. It is nice to have that. Also, you look at technicians. I know that I've talked to people, I live in a farming community in Missouri Valley, and some of these big pieces of equipment anymore, these big tractors, you got to fly in an expert from across the country, from John Deere, to work on it. And so without the airport, you can't do that. And so it affects everybody, not just our, businesses in our municipalities. It affects people that live in the county as well. And I know a lot of people that use it to fly loved ones to get treatment, in Denver or Salt Lake for things that we don't have here. So it means a lot to have that ability, and it certainly is a part of that bedrock of economic development, of having the ability for businesses to do business.
Yes. Okay, I'd like to get back to the data centers. You talked about the electrical, how does it affect Wyoming? Well, that's because we only lock in for 1 to 2 years at the most at a time. So as the data centers come in and they can raise the prices, as they've already raised them 3% in the last year or more. The other thing is, I think there's a lot of technology out there and people studying technology. I think that they know the difference between conspiracy and not knowing what to look for. These tech centers, you talked about the closed loop center. Well, that's been debunked several times and shown that it does not do what you think it does. It just doesn't stay in the system. They have to flush it. They have to move it out, and it does use a lot of water. And I've got video here if you would like to see it on exactly how that works. So as far as new technology goes, there is old technology when they first started some stuff, but this AI centers is not old technology. These are stuff that's coming in fast and furious in every community. I think people really need to really look at what is going on and not listen to a bunch of wordsmithers, under the guise of modern technology advancements. Sometimes this isn't a good thing, and we need to pay close attention to your own homework and pay it and see what's going on out there. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Patrick sent around some of your new priorities that was put out by your board, the Wyoming Business Council Board. I tend to look at that from a perspective of what's in it for us. And I find that the definitions are broad and they're reasonable, and they're certainly based on the vast knowledge that you guys have acquired over the years. But I continue to think about what is in it for the local conversation. And I felt like we as a state haven't done a great job in connecting smaller communities that don't have a university. And don't have the resources that, say, a Cheyenne or a Casper or a Jackson have. And connecting that conversation to, and maybe this is part of the problem solving kind of tools that Patrick brought to the housing situation. So for me, I keep going to things like, what can we do for smaller communities in terms of recruitment? we tend to pit ourselves against one another. So we've tried to coordinate with Riverton, but let's face it, if I can find folks like Del McComey that are close to 100 years old and remind me of all the fights that Riverton won and the ones that Lander won. You know, and so it's a hard exercise. However, from the Wyoming Business Council, we need to work on how we connect the local conversation in terms of our desire to grow our economies and what our strengths and weaknesses are. For instance, so recruitment's a big deal. Business development, I don't know if this is within your priority set, but certainly tying in with community colleges, which we have, and connecting those priorities to local conversations of what business development we do we need. So, for instance, our healthcare industry is actually quite large. It's one of our largest industries, and it creates a lot of well-paying jobs. So we have Life Resource Center, we have a new hospital coming in, we have 2 campuses of an existing, we have tons of providers that extend off of that. To me, that would be a perfect place. And I've had that conversation with the housing with Brian Rohrbacher, is why aren't we coordinating with those guys? They have housing needs currently. And so, you know, how do we tie those conversations? And I'm not putting that on you. I'm saying it's on local folks too. I also would like to see a conversation about what are natural incubators. So I worked at Brunton when the folks that started Lucid, the folks that started Maven, the folks that started other art, so little art community businesses, that was a natural community. It was a natural incubator. Now it's like to see the Wyoming Business Council think about that at the local level. Where are those natural incubators that we could exploit and or try to figure out if that's part of our path forward? Again, I'm gonna whine and groan about how Casper and Cheyenne and Jackson gets all that, but and I'm not trying to bring too much of that, but at the other hand here, what can we do to generate a better conversation with y'all? Because I think economic development is really important, and I think you guys play a good role. The other aspect of that is access to capital. A revolving growth fund, and I've seen different examples from different communities. And I think something like that could exist in the housing consideration with Brian, what he's doing over there. If I think he's thinking big, but I think he's going through the incremental process, which I love process, but I don't have any patience for it personally. But it's still the right thing to do, right? You know what I mean? And so access to capital, I think, could be another area that a local conversation with the Wyoming Business Council, with our educational facilities, and what other players, major industries like our hospitals and those folks and other major industries that are in our area. So those are the things that are on my mind on how we make that, what you're doing, how we make that conversation relevant to small communities. And so there, I'm off my pedestal. I'll step down.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on the money. How do we bring those things to local communities, and how do we honor what is appropriate for each locale? Because the challenges that Casper has and the opportunities that Casper has is not the same as the opportunities that Lander or Riverton or Fremont County have. And I think we need to do that. And a couple things we've been doing to really make that happen are the assessment to action activities that are going on in smaller communities. And then the other part of it is as you mentioned, how do we kind of maybe look at ourselves a little more regionally rather than competing with each other, but how do we play together? And that regional approach is something that our board of directors has really said to me and to our team, is that we will take a regional approach to economic development, and we will develop the regional plans so that we know what are the strengths and weaknesses as a region, not necessarily as a city, a town, or a county. And that's going to be a big lift, but I think it's an important one. And I think what you're saying is really true. And I think it's a good attitude going into that, which is, look, all alone, we're not going to be able to do it. We just don't have the resources to do it for everybody every time. But if we work together as a region, especially if things like, this consensus block grant idea takes hold, like that can't just be everybody gets theirs and they hold theirs tight and we don't work together. In my mind, it's still got to go back to a regional approach and have regional priorities and work together long term. Otherwise, that money's just going to go away, and it's not going to see the full benefit that it can. And so I think you're right on the money, and bringing up some of those questions are going to help us get better. The part that I think is really critical is, sort of putting our money where our mouth is. And that's where we've been able to say with the assessment to action programs and some of the work we're doing with different entities and looking at things like housing that 6 years ago, we didn't think we'd look at that. But it's a barrier to growth. And so we're digging in and trying to break free some of those problems. But you're right, it starts at the local level. If we want to make big change, we can facilitate it, but most of the change that you have control over is what really could unlock some pretty cool growth. And we want to be a partner in that. We don't want to come and tell you what to do. We want to come and help you solve problems and get the heck out of the way if we can, or help out when we can. But it's going to take all of us, and I think it's going to take us looking at ourselves not as just a county, but as a region to do that. Which it isn't always easy, as you all know. Heck, it's hard enough to get towns and cities to work together in a county, let alone county to county and do all of that. But I think that's ultimately going to make us a lot better from an economic standpoint.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have one more quick thing here. I look at infrastructure, I look at the basics of infrastructure. And infrastructure that, is your basic needs for human life. And that would be your water and sewer and stuff in your communities. That is you really, how are you gonna grow? You need that base
Yep.
first. You've got to have it. And, so I think that, really the focus, I know there's a lot of communities, Hudson, that do not have really good, clean, affordable water. You can put a sewer plant pretty much anywhere, but your clean, affordable water, to our communities. Do we focus on well drilling, for artesian wells for these communities? I think, maybe even Pavilion, I don't know how short on water they are over there. I'm thinking that they are. These outside lying areas, even our own communities with Lander and Riverton. I'm sure, and especially a year like this year, when our aquifers are not filling back up, we're gonna have some issues. This doesn't happen all the time. It's every 60, 70 years, you'll have a crazy drought like what we've had over the winter. But I think that's how I look at infrastructure. Look at the basics first. If you got the foundation of that set, and then work out from there. And if you don't have that, what if you can't have life sustaining or affordability in a community without it? Thank you.
This is the first time, that we've got really in close contact with the mom and business council. You guys coming out of it and talking to the commissioners here, and this is what we've needed for quite a while. And get you guys out here where you can say, this is what we're kind of doing in our projects, and people can come up to you and ask you questions in that personal hands-on touch like we're doing right here. We appreciate you coming out and doing that with us, because this is really the first contact I've really had with the Wyoming Business Council. And so when you guys come, that helps us. Hey, I know that guy, maybe I go through him. And so that really helps. And to know, another thing, where do people go to get a hold of the Wyoming Business Council? What is the process of going through to be in front of your board to tell them about my business plan? How do people don't know? And that's one of the things we need to kind of, if you're gonna stay in business to do it, I mean, where the legislature says you guys are a viable part of our economic development state. So that, to me, you know, where's your website? What can we hand out for people that come? We have multiple businesses coming to us all the time. When we had the MOVE program going, we should have been referring people to you folks. And saying, okay, we'll give you a part of grant with, you know, Longview Business Council to do this and partnering with you guys. But that's water under the bridge, but that's one way we should have been looking at it. So getting that information out to us is very, if we're gonna stay in business for long, with you guys staying in as the
Yeah.
viable option for business involvement.
Josh, I know you're probably missed your other meeting.
That's okay. It's just with my board of directors. They'll probably be looking for a new Josh anyway, so it's okay. They'll give them time to discuss that.
You're probably meeting with the legislators and all them that are on your.
That's okay. Yeah, I was looking for a job when I found this one, so it's okay.
We all were.
Attaway.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. And you know, to that end, I just appreciate the time and you know, you all know Patrick's face now, so you can find him. But also I would love to continue to do these more often over the course, maybe every couple months we get back together and if I'm there in person, I would love to be there, but if I have to do it virtually, I'd love to do this too. So thank you for the time and the commentary and let's keep this going.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Let's try for at least every other month.
I'd love it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Do you have anything else for me?
No, if you have your card,
Yeah, I'll
your
go grab some
contact.
and bring them in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It's Mike, you coming?
Yes.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, county attorney is requesting permission to hire a summer intern. For the months of June and July, it's approximately 35 hours a week. It's not going to impact the budget for this year, but the July portion there would need to be. Well, I don't know what that looks like right now.
How many hours a week?
35 for 2 months. The total pay would be $7,875.
$7,875.
And this person would assist us with the workload, drafting memos, research. So, in my opinion, it's needed and will help us a lot.
So you have the funding, so you'd only need the funding for July.
Yeah, half of that. So that's 3,700 approximately.
Questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request to hire an intern, 35 hours a week, impact of this budget. This budget is 78.75.
It would be
This
half,
year's budget,
it'd be half of that
be half of
because
the,
it's June and
I'm
July.
not doing math, it's before noon, sorry.
Okay.
Whatever, half of that.
37.
So moved.
Second, Mr.
Been moved and seconded to approve hiring a summer intern for the county attorney's office, 35 hours weekly for the months of June and July. Total compensation would be $7,875. Half of it is already in their budget. The other half would have to be funded in next year's budget. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Chairman.
Anything further before we go on break? Okay.
We don't need that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pot calling the kettle black.
We're back in session. Well, Julie, we have Julie Freeze, who I'm in retirement discussion.
Mr. Chairman, discussed last year, law enforcement's retirement went up 1.8%. And what we did last year was that there was a 66% that the county usually pays for, and then 34% that we have the employee pay for. This year, they have another 1.8%, but the public employees now also start going up 0.5%. I don't need an answer from you right now. I just want to throw some stuff out about that. So if you continue with the 66-34, we had tried at one point to have the public employees, which is everybody else besides law enforcement, and law enforcement be having to take the same amount out of their paycheck to pay for their portion. And of course, now we're off. And with law enforcement's being bigger, we're going to be farther off if we continue down that trail. I think the other thing that's important for us to know, I don't have something new from the county clerks. I need to get that. But this one, prior to last year's change, we're the highest county. Our county requires the largest amount from our employees. A number of counties don't charge their employees at all for the retirement. Back in the day when we were looking at reduction in forces, we asked the employees what they would prefer. Would they prefer to have like a furlough day, or would they like to take on more of their retirement? We explained that retirement is their money. And as long as you've been here 4 years, you're vested, which means then you can get your money back out in some way, shape, or form. So the other county, there was one other county that was close to us, and that was Carbon County. And a couple of years ago, they couldn't give increases to their employees, so that's how they did it, was to reduce the amount that they had their employees pay. I'm not suggesting any of these things. I'm just throwing that out there, and I'll get you what the updated is across the state so that people know, you all know, and transparency for the public, that what we're doing with retirement and how we would like to move forward. It doesn't have to be done until we get to the end of the budget session, and then I can just implement that across the board for everybody, no matter what it is, if that makes sense. So for right now, I'm just giving you that information. And then if you have any questions or anything you would like me to look into, I'd be happy to do that.
And what did you say Carbon County did when they couldn't give raises?
So I think they were about the same as we were. So before, I think we were, let me see. So this year right now, just so we know, currently the county employees, the public county employees pay 6.12% of their retirement, and law enforcement is paying currently 7.07% of theirs. But I think Carbon County were close to us in that 6%, which is kind of where the state is too. The state requires half and half, half state, half on their employees. Generally, is my understanding, half and half of the amount. So they were, I think, around that 5-6% like us, and it looks like they went down to 2% for the employees to pay, and then they paid the remainder of that. And what I can do for you is take some random numbers of county employees' wages and tell you what that means to them in costs. We are looking at, as Commissioner Allen knows, on the Health Insurance Committee, we continue to have a good year in our health insurance. We do a really good job as self-insured here, and don't expect a huge increase. We always try to just kind of do a 2% just to kind of keep it going, which is very, very fortunate. Again, it's one of those places where you have always required your employees to have skin in the game, so to speak, on their insurance. And a lot of counties don't do that as well. And so those are all the things that we're going to need to do. Our health insurance will be meeting here tomorrow. No, next week, about the health insurance premiums and stuff. So I'm going to start gathering those things for you so that by the the time you start deliberating in June, we can do that information gathering for you already before that. So if there's anything you need from me on those things, let me know.
Okay. Questions?
Sure.
Yes.
Judy, why are we the highest county?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Thomas, because we said our employees needed to have skin in the game when we were down, there was one year back quite a ways where we were down, I think worse than we were the last couple of years. And we were looking at a reduction in force or furlough days, and we sent out a survey because said, what do you want to do? Because we've got to do something. And they chose that to go ahead and increase. We've kind of kept that up because we want employees to know that it is a benefit. It is a really good benefit, and even the small amount that they pay just lets them know that it's not free. It's not all free. It is their money in the end. And so this county has just been saying that we want them to know that they should have skin in the game for their health insurance and their retirement. And I just wanted to throw that out there. We know we've had money aside and been pretty positive about SOC increases for employees. I don't see that changing. And I think the direction you guys have gone with that, where you've had money set aside and had departments be really good at doing evaluations and really looking at who needs to be moved up. I think that's made it so it's not just a free-for-all. So I think we continue to be, very cognizant of what money we do have, and it's important to have good employees. We have somebody at this table every week that loses an employee, and so anyway, I'm just bringing this to your attention because we've got to address this one way or another. But I just wanted us to have some options for you to look at later. So anything that you think of, certainly send me an email and I can make sure I get information out to you as we go.
Anything further?
Always look at the insurance bills that we get each month. Those really stack up with what we're paying out for insurance. I ever thought about, maybe contracting with a local provider here in the future, maybe, and seeing whether or not they could take care of most of our insurance needs. Now, I know there's some things that they probably won't be able to do, but that might be something.
Well,
Into a certain limit, we get to a certain limit, and then we have insurance to, force, say, like a cancer victim or something that has.
so, we, with a local provider, you don't have, in fact, I just had an insurance meeting last week with myself.
Okay.
And I asked about health insurance, because I just went on, Medicare, all that stuff. But, so I asked about health insurance, and there's no one locally that handles health insurance. I mean, they do, but it's pretty much unaffordable. And with this, we're tied in, we have Novo,
Yes.
and they negotiate our contracts with our, stop loss carriers, which stop loss carriers take care of people with high-end medical bills. So we have a separate carrier for that. So they negotiate the contracts, and they take the bids, and they put out the RFP process. They do all that paperwork for us. Granted, we pay them the fee, but what we pay them the fee, we save in negotiation and cost savings, many times over. But so there's so many parts, pieces to the puzzle. You can't just say, okay, take over county insurance, because we have stop loss carriers, we have, Massa and all that stuff all plays a part in it. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
Okay.
And
I just, had one employment one time, saying about, as soon as I get a raise, the insurance rate goes up. So, yeah, I got more money. It just puts me in another higher income bracket. I didn't take anything extra home.
Right.
And I just had to fix that insurance. As soon as we start giving out raises, then that gives the signal.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's,
Mr.
I'm just
Chairman,
trying to get more money in our employees' pockets.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you've heard from other even solid waste or any weed and pest or those, but, well, weed and pest is on ours, sorry. But once they went off of our program, their insurances have gone up, 14, 15%. We're like 2% for the last several years, 6% with one a while back. Our wellness program is what other counties have told Novo they're looking at us because we do a better job of what we do. And so we as the committee do not feel that we want to change much of anything. We have changed increases to dental for our employees. We look to see what is needed by listening to our folks. And so I think they still have a very good insurance here, but yeah, again, they have to pay part of that. But 2% on, and again, I'll put all those figures together so you can see when we get to that, what's the, what is the cost to the employee so that they're aware ahead of time what that might look like. So,
And so part of it is that the health committee does such a good job with managing the money. I mean, several years ago, we had this board had to take some money from the health committee to help balance the budget. But in order to do that, the health committee, we had talked about it several years ago, that to make things whole and to reduce the payment to the employer, we would have to increase our premiums like 26%, wasn't it? It was a pretty dramatic, yeah. So, we've been very, careful about the 2% every year, even when they don't get a raise. Insurance is gonna go up 2%, but if we keep like 2% or 3%, we can still stay ahead of the game.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good information.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might add, if we were to go, just farm out our insurance to say Blue Cross and Blue Shield and just use their off-the-shelf policy, we have zero control over what our rates would be in any given year. So, we have the ability to kind of even the waves and so, and that's part of my job is to set the rates and figure out what we need moving on. So, I think as it is, we have a lot more control over things, and I think we'll do a better job of looking out for our employees than a third party would,
Yeah, real good. Thank you for the discussion.
Did it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve? Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Viewpoint Ranchettes,
Good.
County Commissioner, Steve
Is it-
Fountain County Planning.
Cause it's on.
Yes.
So, Judge Condur and, Bill Dyke own all the lots in Viewpoint Ranchette subdivision. It's a subdivision that was, developed in 1980, but never developed. It was one of those subdivisions that was put into existence back in the day when we had no requirements for any kind of construction whatsoever, and it's essentially a hayfield. And it's been maintained as a hayfield for a long period of time. The owners of the lots within the subdivision are requesting to remove it from being a subdivision, putting it back in as two parcels of land. Counters own the vast majority of it. at some time in the future, should they decide they would then have enough land that they could actually, obtain agricultural rates should they desire to. But as it sits, it would be just removing it from the subdivision, removes the road that was never constructed and, just puts it all back into private ownership. Planning Commission, reviewed it and voted unanimously on it. We had a person from the audience who was a adjacent landowner who didn't understand, what the intent was, thought there were gonna be lots more lots, and actually when it was explained to him that they were taking more lots and putting them into just two, he seemed to be, placated by that.
Questions, commissioners?
The only question I had, Mr. Chairman, was, is that little wedge that we're talking right here?
No, that's a different.
Wrong one.
Okay,
Viewpoint Ranch. It's this one
okay.
With the map.
with the,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that, we approve the vacation of the Viewpoint Ratchet subdivision as recommended by the Fremont County Planning Commission.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the vacation of Viewpoint Ratchet subdivision. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so just for clarification, what's the access to the property?
it's also Tweed.
So, okay, I'm sorry, is it off?
That's
this
Tweed.
one? This is Tweed.
Yeah,
And so
they could access it
those
anywhere.
two different accesses,
They will be developing,
so they'll have to apply for two different accesses?
That's correct.
But there is an access currently?
there was never an access applied for because it was prior to that being a part of the planning, and the permit
So
process.
they don't go onto the property now?
They do go onto the property now. They go
But it's
onto
not a
it.
legal access?
They do go onto it in a legal spot.
Okay.
The dikes have applied for a new
Okay.
access point to a
Okay.
new home that's being built right there.
Okay,
And condos go in on that, more of a.
is it right at
To
that
the, no,
location?
to the south.
Down here.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And that'll be an access point in the future? Okay. Just couldn't make sense of what was. Okay, great.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All right. The next one is a subdivision that was reviewed in 2025 called Wyopo Second Subdivision. And it was the Gibsons developed that. When it was developed, the eastern, the western side of it, there's a fence line that runs along. So I'm gonna kind of combine these two just from a explanation standpoint. There was a fence line that was on what had been Eileen Oakley's property, that big field next door to where the billboards are at. And nobody seemed to really have a firm idea on the ownership of that, and ultimately, it was determined that the Gibsons didn't own that. They thought they did. Oakley's owned it, and there was a little bit of back and forth. When the Gibsons developed the subdivision, they followed their ownership, did not include that 30 feet. Mr. Artery and his wife own what was Oakley's property now, and he also purchased lots 1 and 2 in this. So as a consequence of all of that, he's trying to, one, provide an access, a better access to the big agricultural field off of Chittum Lane, and then also trying to expand these two a bit to where the fence actually is, rather than this an imaginary line. So the vacation is for this southern triangle here on the lots, because it's a very difficult piece of land to build anything on, and it provides an access point to the field to the west. So the vacation is for this triangle shaped piece that was part of the original subdivision. And it's shown as that.
And
So what's happening is they're taking that out of the subdivision. And ultimately, his wife owns what was the Oakleys. He's gonna deed it to his wife, and then that will become the access point to that larger.
so we have to approve the partial vacation.
So we have to approve the vacation.
Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the partial vacation of lot 5. For Waffle.
Nope.
Wyopal, second subdivision.
Second. We moved and seconded to approve the partial vacation of lot 5 of the Whitehall second. Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, and secondarily, we have the plat. So following up on that, the arteries are expanding lots 1 and 5 of the second subdivision to add that 30 feet over to the fence line, expanding those 2 lots. There are covenants that were part of the original subdivision. Those covenants are being added into this additional 30 feet.
Was there any objection?
There were no objections, there were no comments. And there were several adjacent landowners in the audience.
Okay.
Questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Whitewood second subdivision, Wyopal. Second subdivision, lot 1 and 5, re-subdivision.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the,
Wyopal.
yeah. As the motion said. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Used to have those little sticky. Got these 2 as well. Thank you, commissioners.
You're welcome. Oh,
I didn't.
What is it cost to do a subdivision layout?
Well,
That's the
what-
footprint for the planning.
What I tell everybody is, $2,000 for housing for the, through the planning process, including recording, the plat, and everything. Up $300 for, getting with the title company to do an open title commitment on it, and, at least $5,000 for a surveyor. Perhaps more, depending on the property, and that doesn't include any road construction.
But that includes anyway.
Road construction. So if there's roads, the roads tend to be a significant contributor to the cost.
How much for a surveyor? 5,000?
At least.
Depends on how many changes you make along the way.
There's a certain amount of that as well, and it depends on which surveyor you charge,
Right.
decide to hire. That can be, that can double or triple or quadruple that amount without much trouble. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day.
You.
You. I thought the assessors were not done.
I didn't have my budget done yet. Numbers were too big. I didn't do it. Go back to the drawing board. Yeah, I've been doing stuff, so we gave her a move. We moved her. But she's here, but it's smaller than you. Mr. Chairman. When I was working on SOCs this whole time, and even when Joe was here, we tried to find job descriptions that met everybody, that when they gave me a title, I would try to find that, and sometimes we have to massage it. They're not always. A good example is in the coroner's office. There's not anything what they do, so we have to go and look for job descriptions. Well, I had found a few this last round, but what it did for us is made us all on this main floor different wages. So we felt like sometimes somebody would want to apply to the treasurer's office rather than the assessor's or the clerk's office because we were off. So in looking at that, so for like a person in my office as a clerk, it's like people who file and answer the phone and direct people down the hall or whatever. But here's the book for the main office. Everybody is supposed to know what's in this book. They're supposed to know the statute. They're supposed to know the rules. They're supposed to know how to take care of public. They're supposed to be able to help people, or they get all oddball things to do. And I'm sure Kara and Jim are the same way. So the one that I found that made a little more sense for all of us, and this is going to include elections too, is that there's a public relations position that is a lot more, it talks about what I just said. You know, you have a lot more responsibility to what the job that you do and whatnot. And in doing that and putting it with the appraisers and the tax examiners, which was Tara's position and Jim's position, they put us more at a $40,000 starting wage instead of the, I don't know what mine was, 38.6 and then 39 something, and then whatever Jim's was, maybe mine was 38, or 36.8, 38.6, 8, or 38.6, excuse me, and then Jim's was like 39 something. So we thought that we would ask you if we could adjust this for all of us to be the same and include the election office in the starting point.
What would the starting wage be?
So at the very bottom here would be all your levels. So 40,000, 90, 40,000. And then it kind of shows you getting up into the 25 percentile. I probably, in my office, I probably have everybody still in the 10%, even at the other rate. But here it would at least, and and it's like anything else. The last time I asked for people to apply for the position that we had lost a person in, I had 8 people. I used to have 90 people ask for jobs here at the county.
Well, I just talked to Jared Hall. He's looking for a new mechanic. And he had 3 applicants is all. And anyway, long story short, Billy's down 4 people and Kent is not getting the application.
Right, so Mr. Chairman, I just lost one of my 1-year employees that we've already sent to class and got her started training. Was the personal property appraiser, was doing great, loved the job. Came to me in tears and said, I just need more money. So she just left me and went to Weed and Pest for 49,000 starting. So that's what we're saying is I get them trained. I mean, I get them to one class and get them trained. And so it's really hard. I did ask the Weed and Pest. I talked to him yesterday, and under the understanding part of that was an accounts receivable, which is a little bit different. But I think some of what we do is not called accounts receivable, but certainly on the same level as accounts receivable. So you're looking at a $10,000 a year increase. But she loved the job. She said it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't like you. I don't like the job. Of course, that was right before appeal started, so maybe she'd had a different opinion. But that's just the problem that we're facing. And then when you look at the differences in the starting levels, I think this schematic allows us all a place to start and a place to adjust within those levels. as I looked at mine yesterday, I'm gonna lose a little bit like on this level two at 25%, although I have 9 employees, 5 of them are still at the 10%, maybe at level 3 value, and then 1 at 25 and 1 at, one above the 25 a little bit. So we're still hanging in there at the 10th percentile on the bottom end. So I think this would work because it'll allow us to adjust within our own offices per level, per job description. So I am asking.
One more thing too for it to Jim. So a lot of times people will start in one of our offices and find that it's got more money in one of the two. I talk about some of mine, but I know that Jim's lost some to other places too. So that was the other thing, to kind of have the equal footing across the three of us. So
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I would agree with everything that's been said here. I think it's great that we would have a consistent SOC level across our 3 offices, because I do believe that, we all are kind of looking for the same character and abilities in our starting employees. And I think anybody that could be, that we could hire in any of our 3 offices would be successful in any of our 3 offices. I mean, after day one, their paths kind of converge. We don't do exactly the same things, but I think we are always looking for the same type of employees. And so I think this will make things easier, make it a little bit easier to recruit. In my office, I would say we are definitely clustered more towards the base 10%. And so in fact, with my 2 newest employees, this is higher than what they're making right now. So there will be some adjustments that I anticipate needing to do.
So the top part of the scale, that's what they're currently making up.
that was the job descriptions.
That's the job. What is, let's just go for an average, the starting salary. I mean, yours is
36,
yours
9, or 8, 36, 8.
Yours is 36.8, mine's 38.6.
Mine's 39.4.
And this is off of, I think they updated, there's twice a year that the state changes, and I think that's why this has changed a little bit for there too, because that isn't the number that I gave for 4, but when Emma's been working on the new stuff, they said they update it twice a year.
So this, kind of ironic that this comes now, because, I made the comment last week when we approved elected official salary that we better do something for our employees. So,
So, this has been in the works for us 3 for about a month.
okay,
Just so we didn't do it just because of last week.
So I've thought about this, and I don't know how it worked, and I talked to Julie about what it would cost us to do, to give every employee a increase. So I've kind of come up with a plan, and I don't know how well it fit in here, but I think it kind of aligns with this. So I'm thinking employees that have been here less than 3 years, give them a $3,000 increase annually, every one.
After the first year,
No, if they've been here less than 3 years.
less than 3 years. Okay.
If they've been here from 3 to 5 years, give them $4,000. And then if they're here 5 years or more, and granted, I know I couldn't consider the employees that have been here 10, 15, 20 years, but anyway, 5 years or over, a $5,000 increase. And I don't know, I mean, that would somehow, roughly bring all yours up, but I it would fall roughly in this. I mean,
Mr. Chairman, I think that's very gracious, and I think that I know in my office, the workload has increased tremendously. And with all of these exemptions and all of these, what I've seen mine do is a team effect. And if somebody else needs to go to the field with the field appraisers, although since I've been running without one field appraiser, and this is remembering also to all of you, we are each down a staff member, gave that staff member up. We're scrambling to cover that. We're talking about Eagle View. We've got a lot of things in the works. My staff has covered for each other. If the field team stays in and helps answer the phones, they know more about exemptions than they really wanted to know. They just want to list a house, you know, it's 1,200 square feet. But that's what I've seen. And I think the county employees have done that. I've seen it in both offices. I think that's gracious. What I caution you on is what that might do to the steps that we have in place. Because then what you do is you tend to take, if we're going to use SOCs and steps, and I'm not speaking against it. I hope my staff's not watching. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes giving us a collective amount to distribute between our employees helps us with this step, helps us with the SOCs to be where, and this is just my feeling, I don't know, but I think it's kind of like percentages. When you give a percentage and you give a higher, if you give more to the top end, that still leaves the bottom end with a smaller percentage. And like I said, it's a gracious and a great thought. I think it's a great starting place, but what I've seen the most success in is the year that you gave everybody a flat amount and then gave us a percentage to help within adjusting. And I think we've all really tried hard with this SOC adjustment. I know I'm trying to figure out where mine are going to be now in these levels. And that's the only thing I caution you on is giving a flat amount to the top. You give more to the top, it keeps going.
well, so this would reward them for retention and staying with the job. But I don't know, I haven't thought out all the details, but I thought, well, okay, there's SOC adjustments that need to take place regardless. There's some, but I would say maybe we could, with the increase, and this is just my thoughts, I haven't talked to anybody else about it, but we could hold off on the SOC adjustments for possibly 6 months, and then, you know, reward those employees even further with SOC adjustments if they've gone above and beyond, and if they've, you know, really made the effort to educate themselves and learn the job and are really an asset, then reward them again with the SOC adjustment included.
Fair enough.
So as with anything that we just talked about retirement and we talked about health insurance rates and all the stuff, and we're gonna see budgets come through and hopefully they're staying the same-ish. But I also agree with what Tara said on that. What I would wonder is if during this time, and it takes extra work from all of us, but we should maybe have a work session with our department heads, our elected officials, and you guys about options for all of this stuff. Let's put it all on the table and let's talk about what works best for the county, what works best for the money we have, for longevity, you know, looking into the future. As a budget officer, I kind of cringe a little bit when we just, I just want to throw that stuff out there is good, but then I want to bring it all back in and go, okay, how does that work? And how can we make sure into the future that we aren't turning around and automatically saying, okay, now we don't have this anymore because we did that. Employees are important and employees' wages and all that stuff is important. Absolutely. And I think it deserves a little more people speaking up about all the things that we got going this year. For sure.
So, you know, I've been thinking about this for quite some time, and with the vote we did last week on the elected officials increase, Um, you know, like I said, I did say, you know, we've got to do something for our employees, but I can't believe the calls I got.
Mr. Chairman, I full-heartedly support that. We've been trying for a couple years to get them, well, not more than a couple years. I'm sorry, Commissioner. To try and get them up there, but it's really hard because when I look at the SOCs and I'm at the 10th percentile, I choke on going, okay, do I give them $7,000? Because this one's been here 21 years and she's just barely at the 25th percentile, starting 25th percentile after 2 years ago's raise. We didn't give them anything last year. But I was able, through you, to give them significant SOC adjustments in 24. And that, I mean, it's hard when you look at the budget and you look at everything else going on, but if we're gonna try and keep with this schematic, I think we need to be careful how much we give as a base and how much we're allowed to distribute throughout, because you've got some exemplary employees, and I am with you. Time here is huge, and I've got some long-time employees that have stuck through a lot of stuff. And I appreciate those just as much as I do the new ones, but we've got to be very careful if we're gonna adopt this, that we don't skew it in the beginning.
So, Commissioner Sherman, so, you know, last week, you know, we debated, you know, concerning the elected officials increase, but it didn't seem that hard to how we're doing it now. It just seemed like everybody wanted it, we got it, we did it. We talked about the issue of living below poverty level, but when we come to our employees, it's like it's like, well, you know, we should have the same momentum, the same movement for the employees that we did last week for the elected officials, because yes, I got calls, I got emails, and it was like, well, then it's good, or it's not good, or it was, I mean, it was made me think about the issue of the employees, and you know, we really didn't have any trouble doing that vote last week, but yet now we're debating on this, and it's like, we shouldn't be debating. We should just come up and just say, well, base level 10%. And because last week we didn't have I asked about it. I said, we have the money. Show me the money, and then I'll vote yes. Well, there was this, yes, we have the money. So I voted yes. So if we have the money, and we're saying we have the money, then we might as well do the same for the employees. The same momentum, the same movement, the same cry out as I heard last week. I don't hear anybody saying poverty level for the employees. And I just went through this in my calculation, and they are below poverty level. So why don't we just do the same for them? In the same vote, in the sense of getting it done, because if we're gonna do it for elected officials, we either retract what we voted last week and say we don't have the money, and then we just go with it, or we go with the full speed ahead and say we did it for elected officials, let's do it for the employees.
Mr. Chairman, and I totally agree with that. I'm not saying I want to stop that momentum. What I'm saying is, let's be careful how we distribute that, because if you're going to give 5,000 to the people that are already at the top of that salary scale, you're still leaving poverty level people at poverty level. So I mean, I think if you want to even those scales, I think it's a great starting place. And I'm not saying that my employees don't, and I want them, we've known they've been at poverty level. That's what I'm saying. I just think we need to be careful about how we do it and how we apply it to people, because sometimes you skew it further if you give more to one section than you do to the other. That's all I'm saying. I wholeheartedly agree. Let's go forward.
So I don't like percentages for that reason, because the top dog gets more money than the bottom dog, and the bottom dog is still struggling.
Correct.
But, Commissioner.
That's where I was going, Mr. Chairman. I brought up poverty levels last week. And, that it's been an ongoing issue since I have been commissioner. And I witnessed literally people on public assistance working for the county, which just blows my mind. So I don't think that it's an argument or a halt to anything. We have to have this discussion. We need the discussion of how to bring them up above all this and pay them what they are worth. And then also, keep the levels even playing field. So, oh, he gets more in the office over here and I do the same kind of work or, oh, that stops that. And so it's worthy of this discussion to see how far we can bring this up. Put both these ideas together, as you said, as Julie said, put it all on the table. What's best for everybody? How can we do the best for everybody? These employees deserve this stuff. I mean, they work hard. And like you said, offices are getting more intense of, more work piled on and it's the same thing, but the poverty level thing needs to stop. That needs to stop. That should have stopped a long time ago. But now we have the opportunity to do things for our county and employees and I think we're on our way here. We just need to.
Mr. Chairman, I would like
level it
to
out.
thank you for saving that money last year. People are thinking we're just got a paper mill somewhere that we're printing money and I think it's through the diligence of putting things away that we're able to even have this discussion.
Well, and one thing that I really got kind of aggravated about, and the media never does a full justice of the job. They always they got to sell the paper, so we're going to put out there to gaslight everybody. So what they didn't understand was every 4 years by state statute, and they did not report this. This is the opportunity for the county, for the elected officials. And 4 years with no, no raises. And we've had very minimal raises over the years. The county commissioner's been 16 years with 0 raises of any kind. So, they didn't put out that information. And of course they didn't. But people, they see things, and they see the percentages and all that kind of thing. Well, they didn't look at what the scale was to the percentages either. So, but I think back to our employee, we got that done last week, dust is settled on it. But the employees, I think between what, Commissioner Allen said, and then you guys with your level, I think we can work something out there to pull this up.
Well, these numbers are just rough numbers. We can define them, but with these numbers, that would bring all your employees up to the 40,000 starting.
Mr. Chairman, with the numbers you just said, as I look through this, it would bring my staff into the levels. They'd still be under the 50th percentile, but it would bring them closer without asking for SOC adjustments so I'm not against it. Please don't think I am. I just think we need to be careful in using this for future.
Yeah.
So we don't skew it at the beginning.
And Mr. Chairman, when I did all the research on the property levels and stuff for our state, and each county is even different. Our level is right at 40 to 41, just nicking the top of it. So below that is total.
Commissioner.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. So what we're actually, if I got what you're saying, is we keep the percentage fairly low, but we move up people that can go to the next level and get a higher paying position. Is that what we're saying?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we use these levels that we've developed. Each office has developed
Skill sets.
Okay.
and abilities and willingness. Those are all things that are really important in.
So that hopefully will drive the person that may be a bit lower to I can get a little more money if I get to this next level, if I can show that I'm working hard and my foreman boss says, yeah, you deserve a little more money. So this would be a way of stepping them up there.
Mr. Chairman.
I think it's a good plan.
Mr. Chairman, so we're kind of going off why we're here today, but I think the conversation is really good. And again, in the conversation last week, we had given 20% to employees who had been here over the 4-year time frame. So that indicates that we are trying to go the right way. And I will tell you, we've never used the full $300,000. And so maybe what that says is now that people are getting more used to, and the forms that you guys built recently for all of us to come in, I think if it helps us put somebody up $5,000 to, because this is what they do and they know that this is what's expected of them, then it makes sense because we've got money to do that. That was the commitment we've made for 2 years and we haven't used all of it. So I think we've gotten everybody not just to come in and say, well, my people are all great and I think we need to just give everybody a raise. I mean, it's made them come to like, well, these are the things that we expect them to do, and that makes good county employees.
That's right.
So I think that is great. I could have probably just adjusted this in the SOCs, but that's not the way I do things.
Right.
I asked these three if we could be committed to a type of job that really makes sense for what our employees do. And today we're just asking if we can move this, but we would be happy to join a committee to look at all the rest of that, because we're coming back after this gets done. Because even if this doesn't change, I'm coming back. I've got people who've met their levels, and that's what you set money aside for. So
Right, and I agree. I mean, I think we need to set aside that same amount every year for the SOC adjustments, because this is, I shouldn't say, and I don't mean it as a band-aid, but this gets people up there where at least, I mean,
A living
I can't
wage.
imagine a single parent
No,
trying to
understand.
live.
Can't.
Or, you know, I mean, when I leave here, which won't be too long, I
Stephen, maybe.
I hope that.
Hopefully you're talking about your job, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just, you know, I want people to be proud of them working for the county and then when we have a job opening, say, oh yeah, we got there again. We have 90 applicants and, you know, we only have or whatever, but we need to get it back into there and make people proud of the work.
Mr. Chairman, when I started, I made $933.33 a month, and I got a $30 a year raise for just the longevity. It was $30 a year. So.
It'd be nice to take our people to, not just the working poor, just, you know, above that level.
Well, and they deserve it. It's hard, and I know people in the public don't see that, but I have any given day, if I need mine on the weekend, they're here. What do we need to do? They stay till 6, they stay till 7.
above and beyond.
There's just a lot that goes on. So I wholeheartly agree. I hope, Commissioner Thomas, you didn't think I was saying we shouldn't give them raises. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think we need to keep moving because we do have momentum, and we've put a lot of work into this over the last 4 years, especially, to get us going. And I do think we need to keep going. So I just don't want to undo what we've started the momentum towards.
Well, we can't stop. I mean, well, look at the price of gas. I just went up and checked on my mileage. I hate to turn in my mileage, but it's been a year. I filled up last night. It took 20 gallons of gas and it was 100.
Yeah. It's horrible.
So the cost of living is, and most of our employees were able to take advantage of the property tax refund program for their taxes.
That's good, but those that rent and stuff don't.
That's correct.
Yeah, so they're still stuck in the,
Absolutely.
trying to figure out what they're doing.
So do you need an answer from us today on
If we
this?
could move it forward with
Move it
this, yes,
forward.
if we can change this, I don't know that I need a motion, it's just if you guys are fine with us, I'll give this to Emma to put it as our new base, our new list, what we are.
Commissioner, are you in favor of moving forward with this? Mr. Jones?
Yes,
Yes, but.
I am in favor of it. Okay.
no, but
I think we need a committee to pull something together.
Yes, I think that's a separate, yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay,
Totally.
let's move forward.
And Mr. Chairman, if you guys want to consider when you would like to do a work session, we'll get everybody involved because again, retirement, health insurance, all that stuff's coming up and you have options. And so let's take advantage of everybody who has employees to sit at the table and talk about it.
Well, I have a meeting Thursday morning in Riverton, so I could meet late Thursday.
So you guys all decide,
Late Thursday
you
morning.
guys all decide, let us know, we'll set it up, we'll get it, we'll be there. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
With that, we need an executive session for potential litigation.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Go into executive session for potential litigation, then go to lunch, maybe revisit. the budget hearing.
Yep.
Chairman, had received in the email this morning, a letter for you, I think you all got it as well, but sure that you have this letter to you from the Wyoming Secretary of State regarding commissioner districts.
Thank you. Has everyone received this and read it? What's your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we ask for an AG opinion on this.
Agree?
Yes, I'll agree with that.
I guess this board, is going to ask for the Attorney General's office to give us an opinion on this, and then we'll review his opinion.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, probably should read at least what his thing is, everybody knows, nobody else has seen it in the public, so.
Secretary of State Chuck Gray writes, "Dear Chairman Allen and members of the commission, I write today in regards to the Supreme Court of the United States ruling in Louisiana versus Calais et al. Striking down a Louisiana congressional map that was the product of unconstitutional racial gerrymandering and the effects it has in Wyoming. With the Supreme Court's ruling, it is clear that drawing districts based on race is squarely unconstitutional and a blatant violation of the 14th Amendment. As the chief election official for the state of Wyoming, I bring this to your attention because of the impacts that Calais has on Wyoming. Given the Fremont County Commission is the only county commission which is drawn into the districts with consideration of race, I believe the commission's existing electoral boundaries are in violation of the Calais decision and the United States Constitution. Fremont County's previous at-large selection, mirroring the practice around the state of Wyoming, was clearly in line with the United States Constitution and Wyoming law. I believe the commission should take immediate action in order to elect commissioners in compliance with both Wyoming state laws as well as the United States Constitution in light of the ruling of the Calais. Sincerely, Chuck Gray, Wyoming Secretary of State." Okay. With that being said, any further business before we break for lunch? Well,
If I do that all day.
yeah. Julie,
Mike didn't make a motion. on
No.
that. Oh,
it's just a recommendation.
No, just a recommendation.
Julie, with the revenue projections and the assessed value discussions, we might start a few minutes later.
Okay. I'll let them know.
Sarah is not going to be here at 2 o'clock for the
Okay.
budget hearing.
Yep, I'll let them know.
So let's make it 11:45, 10,
45?
1:45.
Okay, that sounds good.
The 45, okay.
You sign that one? And then, do you sign this one or does one?
We will start with the revenue projections at 11:45.
Thanks, Nathan.
You're welcome.
Extra time. Oh, I was trying to listen and write at the same time. I'm into the crowd. Okay. So I put that on one arm. Is that a problem? So it's wrong. Yeah, but he needs to sign it. And then fill out that other side too. Oh, yeah, that's right here. Oh, that, okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I'll just put the drawer with me and we go down. It's Thursday, I'll just take it with me. Then precinct committee.
You know what precincts are?
Oh, okay.